Hello and welcome to Midnight Scribe's Creative Vibes, where we speak to the best of the bronies and discover what makes them tick. Now, as we reach the end of our third season of Creative Vibes, well, we really wanted to give the show a nice big send-off, make it perfect. So our research team went around Equestria to find us one of the best alicorns in the business. Someone so bubbly and nice and talented, they make me look like Discord when he's set in stone. Now, our guest tonight is one of the premier names in the MLP analysis scene and one of the biggest rat lovers out there. It's Lightning Bliss. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. For a second there, I thought you were talking about Mary Sue.
Listen, Mary Sue, if she were to be here, of course she would be the epitome of perfect. I mean, after all, it's Mary Sue.
Exactly.
Which is slightly worrying.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, listen, no, it's great to have you on. And also, actually, I have to say, our returning guest host of the season, James Corck, is also on the show.
I only remember a bright light. I'm been hit in the head. Where am I? I've been kidnapped by the Alicorn Mafia again. Oh no, it's the third time this week.
Oh yes, you're with us now, James Corck.
It's you guys. It's you guys. No, help, get me out of here.
You can tell, ladies and gentlemen, that Mr. Corck here has had a very traumatic experience during season 3 of Creative Vibes when he's been on the show.
I only remember bagpipes and kills. Lots of kills. The bagpipes, they still sound in the silence of the night.
Listen, there is no night that is silent when those things play. No, listen, I don't want to think about bagpipes. I hate those things enough, okay? I don't care if I'm Scottish, I do hate the bagpipes.
No, I was going to say I better break the role-playing act before I derail this into a Silence of the Lambs parody. But it is good to be back. It is good to be back. It feels great to finally be back here. I love doing the Midnight Scribe's Creative Vibes. It's always a joy to chat with you and get to know awesome new peeps. That's the best.
I know, and that doesn't sound like a forced kind of promotion for the show at all. I really love Creative Vibes. Please don't hurt me.
Yeah, no. I really love Creative Vibes. Please donate to Patreon and visit the Kickstarter page where we will be making a movie adaptation soon. Buy the book, by the way, written by M.A. Larson. Yep.
Oh, bring it on. Bring it on. But I tell you what, I'm going to bring this back to the interview show. This is what it is meant to be. So I have got a load of lovely questions I'd like to ask you, Lightning, which firstly, actually, I really want to ask you about the rat cams, because I have to ask about your pets, because you started off on YouTube with these videos, and these are just incredibly awesome. It's great to see a bit of your life outside of MLP. So tell us a bit about your pets and about what you do there.
Well, sadly, I only am down to one pet rat because we sadly lost her sister, Jade, to a very aggressive lung cancer. It was very sad, but that's the problem with having rats. They used to be able to live 4 to 6, even 7 years, and now due to lab experiments and inbreeding and basically people being inconsiderate about breeding in general, rats don't live as long as maybe 2 or 3 years, and you get problems like cancer and stuff like this. But another thing that's shocking is that rats make such wonderful pets. They're easy to keep, easy to clean. They're like dogs. They're easy to train, and in a way they're like cats. They like to clean themselves and go to the bathroom in a certain place. But they make just the most wonderful pets, and I loved every single one that I've ever had. And currently I have Newt, who's a white and black Dumbo rat, and she's doing very well, despite she's currently alone at the moment, but we're hoping to adopt more rats in the future.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. And it'll be great for Newt to have a bit more company in the future.
Mm-hmm. And I strongly encourage that people adopt. Don't go to pet stores and buy a pet rat or a pet mouse or any small animal for that matter. There are small pocket animals that need a home that are in adoption facilities. You just got to know where to look.
Oh, definitely. No, that is a great call to talk about. And I wanted to ask is, I mean, obviously, rats are a big part of your life, and you love these pets, and you want to adopt more. And how did you actually come to start doing rat cams?
It's funny because when I started dating my husband before we got married, we were dating online, and it was a little rough because we were separated overseas because he was a German citizen, and we would see each other maybe once or twice a year for 2 to 3 months, and then one of us would have to fly back to our own country, and I got very lonely. I mean, it was nice having him on Skype and all, but the physical attention, it gets lonely. So I figured maybe I just need to have a few pets in my life to kind of fill that void until I see my sweetie again. But they became more than that. They became my best friends. They became a distraction. They became an inspiration. And I just wanted to share that with everybody because I was just, I love them so much. And I wanted to share that love to the world and also to educate people that these aren't vicious, disease-ridden animals. They are domesticated pets. They are no different than a dog and a cat. People can't seem to get by the fact that, oh, these creatures carry the plague, they might have rabies and stuff like that. That is far from the truth. The odds of a rat having rabies and surviving is impossible, because normally the only way they can get rabies is if they get it from another animal. And normally those animals are dogs or cats or foxes, and they normally don't survive those encounters. um, so there's that. And again, they're trainable, they're smart, they're affectionate, they're pack animals just like dogs, so they like to have companions. They want to be loved. They want to impress. They beg.
Aww.
They beg. I mean, my little girl, every night, she knows it's treat time. So at treat time, she's at the corner of her cage begging me or my husband for treats before we go to bed. She's like sticking her little paws out, clawing at the air, like, feed me, feed me. Where's my treat? It's treat time. And yeah, I just like to educate people that they're not monsters. They're not gross or disgusting. I know it's hard to get past the tail, that part being the most cringiest factor about them. But yeah, they're not disgusting or cringy. They're soft and cuddly and fuzzy. You just want to hug them.
Oh, listen, I entirely agree with you. I remember many years ago, my dad, he used to fix PCs for a living, and because I was quite young, I used to go around with him. And one of the customers we went to stay with, they had pet rats. They had about 3 or 4 of them, like sort of lovely, sort of white rats. And they were. I remember at the initially I was kind of a bit hesitant because I kind of had a bit of that stigma in me. But by the end, I had them rolling around my head and on my shoulders, and just kind of they were just the most adorable pets I'd seen in years. They were just lovely.
Yep, exactly. And they love to play. Girls, especially, girls love to play and get into trouble and just have a blast. Boys tend to be a little lazy. So if you want a rat to just cuddle and lay with you, get a male. If you want more playful times, get a girl. That's what I love about them, though. They all have their own little personalities. I mean, even my one of my first rats, Sir Lancelot, I called him. I called him Lance for short. Um, he was very playful and mischievous despite being a male. But after he would play and explore the bedroom, he'd always climb up my bed, then climb up and sit on my shoulder and watch the television while I did my homework.
Oh, that's just lovely. Well, I tell you what, I because obviously you've been doing the rat cams for a wee while, but then the MLP stuff began to filter in the content you were doing. How did you actually come to be a fan of My Little Pony?
Oh, I've been a fan since G1, since I was 5.
Oh, awesome! Oh, right, okay, right. Listen, tell us a bit more. Then I want to hear about this.
Yeah, so I've been into My Little Pony since I was a child. I mean, the pilot episode, My Little Pony Escape from Midnight Castle, came out in 1986. That was the year I was born. So it had already been out by the time I was 5 years old. And, well, I fell in love with Firefly. She was my favorite pony by far. And I mean, just seeing these fantasy ponies that were unicorns, Pegasi, Earth Pony, and they were battling this monstrous creature called Tarek, and it was just so awesome. And the sea ponies, I mean, I still remember the song, shooby-doo, shoop-shooby-doo.
Call up on the sea ponies when you're in distress.
Did I make... Exactly,
I knew there was a disturbance in the hat.
I am so sorry. I am so late.
Do not worry, it is absolutely great. And actually, I now get to actually admit to the audience that we actually booked 2 alicorns for the show. I mean, obviously we got Lightning Bliss, but the second one, well, we needed someone so perfect, we needed a Mary Sue. So we called her. So it's great to welcome Mary Sue.
There's only one Mary Sue.
Indeed.
Or there is only one true alicorn.
Indeed.
Because Blissy's a bunny rabbit.
I am not a bunny rabbit! Oh! Do you see the horn? Do you see the wings? Do you see the tail? Oh, well, the tail might be a little throwing off, but that's beside the point.
I know, you're a bunnycorn.
Bunnycorn!
I am not a bunnycorn. I am not a bunnycorn.
Sorry, I should probably say, yes, Mary Sue, aka Mad Munchkin, is here. And Amy, Maddie, how are you doing?
An introduction. Yay! I am okay. I'm working a bit too hard, but yeah, apart from that, I'm good.
Well,
I'm sitting there thinking, what else is new?
I know exactly. I mean, you work so hard all the time. I mean, it is, you know, like I said, it's always been inspirational, the amount of work you're doing, how you've been able, and the quality of the stuff you do. I mean, of course, I mean, for fans of the show, we had Mad Munchkin on the season finale for the first season way back in 2015, all that many moons ago. I mean, my hair was just slightly smaller.
You know, I will tell you, out of concern, I will tell you to slow down and take it easy, but that will be an insult to the amount of productivity that you've been displaying lately. Like, you're posting a new drawing every day, sometimes 2. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm not sure about every day, but yeah, I try to get something out there as often as I possibly can, so yeah. Maybe it is every day.
Well, I tell you what, I do have a question for you, Maddie, a special question, because I know that you are on record as being not the biggest fan of alicorns in the fandom. What's your opinion of Lightning Bliss?
Blissy's adorable. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, no, actually, Blissy is really cool. I adore Lightning Bliss's design, for one thing, because it's more based on the last unicorn, or more classical design unicorns from like the I can't remember their names, the Lost Tapestries, because so as far as designs go, Blissy is awesome, and and as a person, she's even better.
Yay!
Aww.
Everybody loves me. You hear this, alicorn haters? Mad Munchkin approves.
I get a bad rep because, you know, one video and you're labeled for life, you know, but that video, it was meant to just be a joke, to be honest. I mean, yeah, it was poking fun of so many alicorn OCs, but it was like that can be applied to any character regardless of their species. So yeah, it was I think it was mainly just because that was the first time you see Maddie actually interact with someone else in a video, really. So yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I've got a related question actually that I could kind of ask both of you, because you were just talking there about the video you did where you were talking about alicorns and there was a certain reaction from that. And Bliss, I know that you used to for your Patreon, you ended up doing a series called I'll Judge Your OC, which you ended up stopping due to certain fan reactions, that we say. And I wanted to ask the two of you, because you're both big creators in the MLP scene, you know, absolutely talented people. And I wanted to ask, what is, for you guys, the relationship between a creator and their fans, particularly on YouTube? Because obviously when you're watching on YouTube, it's almost like we're on the sofa together kind of watching. It's quite a personal environment.
You know, for me, it can cross personal environments, especially if a fan, or I should say a commenter, does not like my content to the point that they say extremely hurtful or I dare say, threatening things. And that's where I tend to draw the line, and I tend not to respond to those commenters, and I'll sometimes be forced to block, which I don't normally like to do, especially with the fact that you have to be careful with what people are saying, because sometimes a lot of times us creators can mistake hurtful comments for critiquing, constructive criticism, and I mean, for instance, I watched a video with Mad Munchkin and Ty and Daga to spot those specific comments and outline what is constructive criticism and what is actually being hurtful. And so I've had to learn that a lot. And then, of course, you get the commenters that are just all praises, all happy, saying you're doing a great job. I love your work. You are awesome. I love you. And those are nice. And I admit it's a boost. But at the same time, I mean, for me, because like I would say almost 90% of my comments are that. And it's nice and all, but I always like to challenge myself, and I want to improve, and I want to do better than I already am, because I never feel like I do enough. So it's nice to get constructive criticism now and then, and that's why I tend to go to people like Keyframe or Mad Munchkin or Dr. Wolf or Two Critic, and I ask them, how am I doing? What can I do to improve? Are my prices right on my commission guides, Maddie?
With sorry, I'm trying to get my train of thought here. For me, with because I'm pretty much wear lots of different hats online, so I feel like I have a very close relationship with the people that follow my work, because I'm on like Facebook, Twitter, DeviantArt, YouTube, and lots of other avenues. So you get comments every day, and I try not to take this recognition for granted. You know, it's something you should never get used to, but and always appreciate when people do give you feedback, regardless of it being positive or negative. But it's knowing the difference between a negative comment and if they're just being personal and mean, like to just a personal attack kind of thing. And I think myself and Blissy have a lot in common, because I could be wrong here, but Blissy is pretty much you as a person. So you're very protective of your OC as well as your artwork. So because you pour yourself into it. So when someone says something horrible about it, you do take it as a personal hit on you as a person as well as you as an artist. And it does take time to learn the difference between constructive criticism and pure negativity. I think a lot of people, commenters, they want to tell you what's wrong, but they don't know how to tell you to fix it. And when I get comments like that, I try and ask them, well, what do you mean? What is wrong with it? How can I improve it? I had a comment about that on one of my Pokemon drawings of Team Rocket. It was the first time I ever drew Team Rocket. Jesse and James, their faces were wrong. And I was like, well, how were they wrong? Tell me how to improve it. And it took a while to get the answer out of them, but it was basically because they weren't drawn in an anime style. And I'm like, well, no, because they're drawn in my style. But like, what's wrong with it? Are the proportions wrong? Is the angle wrong? What's wrong with it? And I couldn't really get an answer from that. So it's just down to in a person's interpretation, and sometimes people they just want to give you some kind of feedback, and they're not sure how to put it into words properly. I don't know. Yeah.
Sometimes people will say, "Oh, this is wrong because I wouldn't draw it that way." That falls onto the style category. It's not like it's inherently wrong, like it's a problem with the proportion, or you didn't drop the shadow properly on that part of the drawing. That happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most bluntest comments I got was somebody said, and I will keep them anonymous, this show, quote unquote, sucks. And it was one of my episodes, and I go, okay, how does it suck? Can you explain to me why? They said, because you're an alicorn. Okay, and you don't like alicorn OCs. Okay, why do you not like alicorn OCs? It's like, oh, because they're Mary Sue.
Yeah, okay. This is when I sit there with my head in my hands thinking, this is all my fault, in a way, because of that stupid video I made. Like, suddenly, like, people start throwing the Mary Sue term all over the place. Your character's a Mary Sue, your character's Mary Sue because of an alicorn, and I'm just like, well, like, just because someone's character is an alicorn doesn't automatically mean they're a Mary Sue. Like, ask them questions about their character, and it's get to know them as a person, a character. So yeah.
Don't blame yourself so much for that, Maddie. Don't give yourself so much credit about. It's not your fault that because of that alicorn video you made, everyone is using the Mary Sue term to describe alicorns. That's been going on.
I don't blame myself. I blame Mary Sue.
Oh, okay.
Oh, of course. No, exactly.
Perfect.
Just blame me, God.
It's your fault, Mary Sue. You're way too pink. You cause the pinkness to spread, and then everyone is alicorns.
If I could defend Mad Munchkin's video here, I've watched that video and I took inspiration from it and actually looked at my character for a bit because of it. But then I realized, okay, I don't really fall under that criteria that she's talking about. But I thought what she said was pretty fair on a character development level and creative level. I mean, at the end of the day, at one point I said something that was taken the wrong way and somebody called me entitled because I said this: don't choose an alicorn OC or a red and black OC unless you have a backbone. But somebody took that as entitlement. Oh, well, you have an alicorn OC and two grids got a red and black OC. Oh, you guys are the only ones who can have it. I'm like, no, let me rephrase. You shouldn't pick one because it's a hard OC to have currently, because a lot of people don't like them anymore for various reasons. But if you're going to have one, get ready to get some grief, because I found out no matter how well you write a character, and this goes for any character at the end of the day, not just alicorns or red and black OCs, but no matter how creative you get with your character, no matter how well written they might be, you are still probably going to get some hate.
Yeah, you can't please everyone. Not everyone's going to like your character, no matter how airtight their backstory might be, no matter how amazing their design might be. Someone out there is going to find a reason not to like it, and that's okay. Everyone's different, It's when the problems start is when people start attacking people personally. That's something that's just not right.
That's where they stop paying attention. That's where it doesn't matter the arguments you make. They have their opinion and they're gonna stick to it no matter how unreasonable it is. So to that point, the battle is lost. You might as well just ignore them.
Well, I tell you what, to bring it back to a degree of optimism, James, do you happen to have any questions here for our lovely guests?
Actually, I do have one, and it's okay. You say optimism. My question is not exactly like optimistic. It's not negative either. I am just curious. How do you avoid not just when there is a touchy subject or something that might be an area of where it's like thin ice, and you are like, oh, I might as well not touch on this, but it's a very good subject. I really want to talk about it. How do you go about that? Like, how do you talk about, like, for example, Maddie, how did you approach your video about Frozen being overrated, for example? Like, because saying that is kind of like, oh, how dare you? I'm going to downvote you right now. Kind of deal. How do you approach?
It's just having the guts to actually say what your opinion is, regardless of knowing that everyone thinks that Frozen is amazing. And I saw it twice at the cinema. I loved it, right? I really liked that movie, but it's not as good as so many people have made it out to be, because they're saying, Anna's it was the first. People were saying that they were the first princess that didn't need saved by a man, and I'm like, I'm just going to plop Mulan here, and then going on about the first time you see a queen or princess fighting for her country and that, and I'm like, well, Mulan again, well, Pocahontas as well. Oh yes, and Princess Kira as well. You know, and I'm like, okay, I'll just put this over here. None of this was in the video. I wish I actually wrote it in, but yeah, just approaching it. You just think about your opinions and take everyone else's out of it, and you just put it on paper, and if it's funny, put it in a video and post it online and just watch the reaction from people. It is quite funny. When you have an opinion that's not going to be popular, ironically, you get a lot of attention for it, and it's like some people think, oh, you only do that to get views or attention online, and I'm like, no, this is genuinely, what my thoughts were on the movie, and how popular it was killed my enjoyment of it, as does most things that are more popular than they should be, you know, and it's mainly because of how they've been marketed, and they're just everywhere. So
yeah, I mean, there is definitely such a thing as a kind of a hype backlash. Like, something could be good, but if the hype is disproportionately bigger than it kind of kills it.
It's like you're not allowed to say anything bad about it, because, or anything bad about something popular. Like, say, another example I get a lot of comments on was the video for Five Nights at Freddy's, for instance, which I don't find scary at all. But I say why I don't find it scary, because I used to work with animatronics, so I just don't see the scary side of them anymore, because I work quite closely with them. Well, antique animatronics and clockwork puppets and things. So seeing a game like that, I'm like, yeah, I can see why some people find it scary. It's all like paranoia and it's very atmospheric and jump scares and things, but you know, and all the lore behind it, and it is really interesting to look at the lore and stuff, but I just don't find it scary. And when I said that in the video, people thought I meant it's a bad game. I'm like, it's not a bad game. I even said in the series it's not a bad game. But the problem is, every single game that was released after that was just the exact same game with a little bit more added. And it's not really anything new or like evolving really into something else. It was just the same thing again with a few extras. So yeah.
What about you, Lightning? How do you go about handling a subject that might be touchy or that might make people angry?
Well, I remember in one subject I did in a review, it was tanks for the memories. And the episode was talking about grief, and a lot of people had misconception about, well, it's not really talking about death because Tank isn't dying, he's going into hibernation. My opinion on the matter is, well, look, guys, it's a kids show. They can only take it so far. They have only so many limits. They tackled the topic as best they could, and they did address the 5 stages of grief. And so that being said, I stated that part of my opinion, and then I tend to take it into a personal perspective, just to show that I have been there. I've expressed my opinions in this factor because I've experienced it before. Like, I talked about losing my pet, and that I went through those stages of losing her, and it was hard. But knowing that I've actually experienced this kind of situation or topic tends to help me motivate myself to throw my opinion out there. If I've never actually experienced it, it's a little bit more of a challenge for me to throw an opinion out. So, I mean, for instance, like the whole newbie dash episode, for instance, a lot of people didn't like that because the quote unquote accusation is that hashing people is okay. In my opinion, yes, I believe it is, and I have examples of it because I was raised with a father who did hash me, and even though it might seem ugly, he did love me at the end of the day, and I can express that through my experiences and opinion, and that tends to help me keep my foot in place and keep me grounded. So when other people say, well, will disagree with me, I tend to argue, well, that's your rightful opinion to disagree, because it's an opinion at the end of the day. It's not fact, it's an opinion. And this was my experience.
That's great. That is also
Yeah.
a very smart way to like diffuse any sort of like forward argument, because as soon as you say, like you say, that's your opinion, they suddenly run out of reasons to keep getting mad at you, and the only thing they can do is just wave their arms up and down harmlessly.
Yeah, and they basically do, and a lot of people do that. A lot of people want to get the last word in, and I'm like, okay, if it makes you feel better, I'm not going to respond. I've already stated my 2 bits. I'm going to move on, and they'll keep going, but I won't reply. I'm sorry. I can't waste my time arguing over an opinion.
To keep it with the pony theme, don't feed the para sprites.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, and it's I think there always is that point where you have to be kind of the bigger pony and just kind of go, right, I'll let you just you can talk if you want to, but I'm going to take a step back. And I'm
bigger pony.
The bigger pony. But I tell you,
Mary Sue's the biggest pony.
hey, Mary Sue's the biggest pony.
Biggest.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. Oh, help, I'm being sent to Discord for that. But
Technically she is, though, because she's bigger than all of us.
Indeed, we all
Everyone, because she's Mary Sue.
Exactly.
Mary Sue, yeah.
Mary Sue.
Stand on her head and then I'll be bigger. Haha.
I'll tell you what, I have one big final question for the 2 of you, which is the fact that I know, for example, Lightning, your bread and butter in the community is your analysis videos, and Maddie, I know you do Mad Munchkin blevers and you talk about various episodes of the show as well. And personally, one thing I've always wanted to ask is, when you're doing an analysis of something, particularly something you enjoy as much as My Little Pony, and particularly episodes you might really enjoy, does analysing an episode, like really getting into it, does it heighten your love for the show, or does it diminish your love for a particular episode? Like, what kind of effect does it have on you?
Well, for me, it heightens my love for the show just as much, and it also helps me to establish why I may not like certain things. But I tend to call myself one of those naive reviewers, where I will find a reason to like the episode one way or another. It may not be for the plot, it may not even be for the story. It will be for the artwork or animation, because at the end of the day, the animation has always been spot on for me. But there are certain topics that I will love to. I just get so hyped about because I've had personal experiences, like Applejack's Day Off. Nobody seems to like that episode except me, and I'll tell you why. It's because I am a workaholic, pretty much like Mad Munchkin. In fact, Maddie, I'm gonna share something with y'all right now. Dr. Wolf said I needed to take a vacation.
Yeah, I think you told me that before, and I'm like, really? Dr. Wolf told you to take a break?
Yeah.
Okay.
The workaholic himself.
Yeah.
I'm
Takes one to know one.
I guess that is the saying. Oh my, where was I going with this? Oh, anyway, I loved that episode because I relate to Applejack in that there are just certain things I have to do before I can officially relax. And there are certain things I don't like to do to relax. Like, if I can't do this, I'm not going to have fun. I'm sorry. That's just how I am. I am stubborn. I am a Texan. And there were times, like, when it came to Applejack kind of seeing things from a different perspective, like, can't you do things in your routine that might make life a little bit easier for you? And you know what? I've had to take a step back and ask myself, do I make things too difficult for myself? Yes. Yes, I do. I do make a lot of difficulty for myself. Like, I don't like asking for help. I'm still not going to ask for help. I don't care how many times Dr. Wolf encourages me. Yeah, you get the idea. Anyway, turn it over to Maddie.
Yeah, for me, it's not just with MLP, but just for anything. I don't like taking things at face value. I want to know how it was made, why it was made. I want to know the history behind it, if there was any like possible plagiarism going on, or you know, like what references were threaded throughout an episode of MLP that were pulled from something else that I didn't know about. You know, I just really like rewatching episodes and finding things I'd never saw before. And that's one of the greatest things about being an analyst is that the first time you watch it is just for you and your enjoyment, and then you watch it again, or how many different times, number of times you need to watch it to analyze it. Usually for me it's about 3. You start seeing the good and the bad and maybe the ugly as well, and you just start to strip it down and strip it right back to its core pure element. And I just get so excited because it just shows that as great as these things are that you love, where these episodes of shows you love or movies you love, they are not perfect. They're not Shakespeare. They are going to have problems. That, like, no episode of MLP is airtight, regardless of how much you love it. Like, you know, you're going to love something, but don't be blind to its flaws, you know. And I think seeing flaws in these things, it just reminds you that real people worked on the show, and like, you just want to see, look how talented these people are, and they still make mistakes, and you know, it's quite humbling, really. I don't know, like, maybe that's the phrasing of that was a bit strange, but I sometimes think when something is not quite to the level that we expect it to be, I think we're kind of maybe placing too much pressure on the people making it. I don't know, but yeah, I just love analyzing stuff. It's just what I've always enjoyed doing. So yeah.
To pepper your argument there, not even Shakespeare was perfect all the time.
No, that's just the terminology that's usually used. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like when it comes to writing, is not everything is Shakespeare. When it comes to movies, people say, "Oh, it's not Citizen Kane." It's like, not even Citizen Kane is a perfect movie. Personally, I don't like it that much. And that, you're right, because that goes back to the whole hype thing. Because sometimes hyping too much about something can end up killing your interest on it, and hyping something so much can kill the audience's interest on it.
I don't know about you, Bliss, but when it comes to MLP, I try to avoid as many spoilers as possible, because, as you say, James, like, you can kill your love for it if you wrap yourself up in it all the time, you know? And
yeah,
you have to look at other things. I mean, I'm not just talking about MLP, I'm talking about anything, you know. It's but MLP, the fandom of MLP is very intoxicating, and for myself and Bliss anyway, I don't know about you, Bliss, but it's just good every now and then to just take a step out of it every now and then and breathe and then dive back in, which is when I'm like, oh, there's a break in the middle of the season. Hallelujah! Yay, I can do other things!
I'm not the only one who thinks like that.
I don't like to work on a schedule. I like to work at my own pace. I don't like people to encourage me, like, oh, you need to hurry up with this next episode because the next one's coming out. No. I want to enjoy making my reviews and analysis. I want to enjoy doing collabs with everybody. It doesn't need to be rushed.
Well,
it doesn't need to be rushed, does it, Bliss?
No.
sorry, can I give me a second? I'm just gonna just call Dr. Wolf here. Just give me a sec. Just.
No, we're good.
Bring the straight jackets. Bring the straight jackets, man. Bring them.
No.
We need an extra large one for Meisu and an extra small one for Lightning. Yeah, good.
Hey, I resent that, sir.
Correction, we need an extra cute one for Lightning Bliss.
All right, that's it. Where's my minigun? Maddie, I need my minigun.
Oh, look at that. The bunny corn is about to attack.
Careful, it can leap.
No, right now I'm thinking of the vicious bunny from
Monty Python.
Yes, the Holy Grail.
It's the Halicorn of Kerbanog.
Oh, please, ladies and gentlemen, please, let's just be careful. We just refurbished the studio. I don't want any damage to come here.
Wait a minute, does that mean that you are somewhat related to Angel Bunny? Because I know that he must be related to that bunny.
I am not related to that evil bunny, I assure you. I am not. People seem to be under the conception that Lightning Bliss is so small she's as tiny as the CMC. I am not. I'm probably a few inches smaller than Eliora at best.
The funny thing is, sorry to interrupt, but
yeah, go ahead.
You know how your OC is small? Maddie was supposed to be small as well because she's a Shetland pony, but when she first appeared in the TF2 series and she appears alongside other ponies, she was made the same size as everyone else. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. It's fine. It's okay.
Well, but even
I know.
To be fair, I got the
Maddie,
perspectives wrong with Dr. Wolf too. So
yeah. I think Maddie and Blissy are supposed to be around the same size, but it didn't happen. And that's okay. It's fine.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
It's fine. I'm like,
it's your fault, Blissy.
No, it's not. Just go in your corner.
Hey, Sue, don't start with me.
Go in the corner.
And gang, we are not fighting in the Creative Vibe studio. I am not having it. The only person allowed to fight here is me and my ego. I am putting my foot down here. That's
Are you sure we don't want an Alicorn fight? It would be pretty epic.
We have the war room for that.
Yeah, I was about to say, leave that for the season 4 opening. We need something to bring us back. And I reckon the destruction of the studio will be a good start. We'll probably need to refurbish it anyways. But I'll tell you what, I think we're probably going to have to wrap up the show there, otherwise we will actually destroy the studio. And we've spent ages refurbishing it, so I don't want that to happen anytime soon. Not yet, anyway. But firstly, I would say thanks to all three of you for coming on the show, and I hope you've had a good time. There hasn't been too much warfare.
Yeah, Maddie. Why are you so late, Maddie? Bad, stupid Shetland pony. Stupid Irish pony.
Scottish. Scottish. We've been over this. God.
Apologize to Mad Munchkin, Mary Sue.
I'm not apologizing for nothing.
Mary, don't feed that. Don't feed that, Maddie, please.
Mary,
don't you dare.
I control my rainbows now, Mary. Do you want to see?
I don't think she does.
Right.
Anyway.
I have one final question. Mary, you can hang on a second, right? You can take over afterwards. I have a final set of questions here, and I'm not letting her get in the way. You can hang on a second. I am stepping down now as Midnight Scribe. I am taking back control of the show. And the final question I do want to ask is, Lightning, Maddie, and James, where can we find you on the web?
You can find me on DeviantArt. Just type in Lightning-Bliss, or you can go on my YouTube channel, which is just Lightning Bliss. You can also find me on Twitter, which I also think is @Lightning-Bliss. But yeah, most of the time you're going to find me on DA or my YouTube channel.
Mainly, you can find me on YouTube. It's Mad Munchkin Blathers. Yeah, you can find me on there. Lots of videos. It's not just MLP stuff. It's lots of other things as well. Really awesome stuff. I have a official Facebook page. It's Mad Munchkin Art and Illustration. I post pretty much anything and everything I get up to on there. All the new artwork, videos, share blogs, whatever. DeviantArt, of course, and it's Mad Munchkin on there as well, coincidentally. I have 2 online shops as well, if you don't mind me just plugging those randomly.
Oh, please, plug away. Go for it.
Plug away. Awesome. It's the Etsy shop is called Mad Munchkin Art. That's all one word, Mad Munchkin Art. And I'm also on eBay. Once again, that is also Mad Munchkin, all one word. So, the Etsy shop has exclusive art prints on there, and the eBay shop has some personally signed things that you can win that the money from those is donated to charities, but any other money made from these prints is going toward my travel fund so I can go to BronyCon next year and hang out with Blissy. Yay! Oh yeah, and other people, I guess, yeah.
and other places. There's other things.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dog, Silver, and Josh will be there.
And what about yourself, James?
Yes, you can go to my DeviantArt on jamescorck.deviantart.com. I have everything linked on there, so yeah, there you go.
Awesome. And as far as the Highland Bronies are concerned, well, you can find us on Facebook and YouTube at the Highland Bronies, where you're watching this video right now. We also have a Twitter and a Tumblr under Highland Bronies, or, and I'm actually going to attempt to pronounce this because it's a season 3 finale, Ronig Glass. And if I pronounce that wrong, I'm sorry, Sugar Dove. I do not know Gaelic. I can only do so much as a Highland Brony. But this is actually the end of Season 3, and hopefully we'll be back for Season 4, provided these two don't destroy the studio in the meantime. If they do, we'll probably start a Patreon and ask for help.
I'm not making any promises.
Every time you talk, it peeves me off.
Right.
You use the B word. Oh no.
Right, there is a
There's
disaster
children
waiting to
listening.
happen. Oh no. Right, we are ending the show right now before these two destroy the studio. Take care, gang. We'll hopefully see you for the next season. And the final word from Midnight Scribe is, as always, please subscribe.